Now, let us look at our first subtopic or our first specific outcome. We need to be able to communicate effectively with customers in context of IT support. The first thing that we should be able to do in this particular case is to be able to ensure that the communication with IT customer staff is polite. Customers and IT staff as well is polite and is clear and is sensitive. This is one of the most important parts of any type of communication in the world anyway. Once you are not polite, even if you are right, even if you have got the best of points, sometimes you cannot be listened to. You can just imagine if you go to, let's say, MTN and your SIM card is giving you problems, maybe you are loading data, then the data is not appearing and so forth, and then you go to one of their stores and everything. And then the person who's at the other end of the table is not even polite with you, does not even literally want to talk to you. When they're addressing to you, they're addressing to you as if you're stupid, which in all fairness, half the time, the fact that you are there means that you need help. And the fact that you do not work at MTN, it means that you don't understand how they do things there. So you probably need someone to help you to understand what's happening. Now, most people then assume that the fact that you don't understand such simple things, it means that maybe you're just being stupid or you're silly or literally you're down and all those things. And that makes them then disrespect you in all manners, which is very unfair because at the end of the day, some things that are simple to us, even as I was introducing the whole course to you, I even told you that sometimes you have to forgive me and you have to ask questions wherever possible because some things now are obvious in my mind after years and years of training the same thing over and over again. But that might not be the case with you since you might be meeting some of these particular topics for the first time in your life. So you'll find that I might easily just walk over something assuming that everything in a sentence is well understood by everyone in this class. But that might not be the case with you. And it is not my right at all to then be impolite to you when you ask something that might be very simple and probably expected to be easy to understand, because sometimes that's exactly the reason why you are here, because you do not understand such things. It is then my duty to make sure that I explain everything as clearly as possible and also as sensitively as possible. So it's unfortunate that half the time in the professional environments that we find ourselves in, people are frustrated by other little squabbles like the politics at work and so forth, and they end up forgetting the goal at hand. The goal at hand being to deliver what the customers expect at the end of the day, and that exactly is the cause between the service providers being impolite to the customers themselves. And it is unfortunate to note that the bigger the companies have the time, they also more impolite the people who are supposed to save us are, because after time, the bigger the company, it also means even the managers are not even able to micromanage all the staff that they hire, and also even just punishing someone, the bigger the company is, the more difficult it is. There are more rules to follow and also more time to spend on one particular person. And as you are doing so, the other person might be doing worse things and so forth. So you'll find that usually our worst experiences are with big companies. Usually our worst experiences in terms of customer care, you also agree with me, are also in government offices. This is also due to the same point to say, once they are big, in terms of a lot of, you find that one manager is managing more than 100 staff. And that is hard now for him to really pinpoint and see who's doing their job correctly and who's not. And even to follow up if there's a complaint to say, I came through the other day and this person was rude to me, they can't really follow up appropriately. Why? Because they're already having a lot to deal with at the end of the day. But the smaller the companies, usually you see that the customer care is very good because the bosses are there and they are able to even manage their staff very well and see where they are making a mistake and punish them if necessary or rebuke them at that particular point. And then the clients are always happy. So that's the difference that we find ourselves in. But I think it goes without saying that if you fancy yourself as a professional, whether you have a manager, a supervisor around you or not, you understand what your job entails and you understand what you need to do to your clients to make them happy, and that's all you then need to do. At the end of the day, it's not a matter of how much you are paid, because at the end of the day, we agreed, you signed an SLA, you signed a contract to say, I'll be paid this amount when I come through to work A, B, and C. So it's then unfair for you to then go on and treat your clients as if they are the ones who owe you the money, as if they are the ones robbing you of your, leave hours and so forth, because they are not the ones. That's a company politics that shouldn't involve the customers themselves. So it's easier said than done, though. Half the time, once a lot of things go wrong on the internal structures of our companies, they always bleed out even to the people around us, be it the customers and even to family members, to people on the street, to people we meet in the taxis going home and so forth, which is a very, very unwise thing to do, and therefore it's something that comes also with discipline. At the end of the day, the moment you tell yourself I'm a professional, it's easy for you to discipline yourself and to find yourself correcting yourself before you actually overstep certain boundaries, especially in as far as not treating your clients well is concerned. The other thing that we'll look at is the communication should ensure that information is disseminated to relevant IT customer staff in a timely, complete, and an accurate manner. It's one thing to be able to communicate effectively with your people. It's another thing to communicate at the right time, because any information, once it arrives to you when it's too late, it becomes almost useless, if not even an insult. So at the end of the day, you'd rather know what you need to know as fast as possible, so that you can sort out whatever needs to be sorted out as fast as possible and correct and move on with life. But half the time, you see that people will miss deadlines in terms of reporting and so forth like that. Those things actually then make it difficult for any solutions to be found fast. So at the end of the day, time is of utmost importance when you're trying to be professional. Then the communication should ensure that relevant IT customer staff are informed of progress towards the resolution of support requests. So you'll find that in a company, there are many departments. Usually, the bigger the company, it also needs to have what are called call centers. Call centers are normally people who are trained to be the first front, so to say, that the clients will meet. So when you call any big company in South Africa, half the time you are led straight to their call center. They are the ones that then determine which department to forward you to, if ever it's necessary to forward you to that. Now, call center agents normally have no much power over the physical attributes of whatever the company is responsible for. All they have is generic answers towards whatever the clients might normally need. This is a very good solution to a big problem in communication, but sometimes it then goes abused. What I mean by that is this. Normally, when you go through a call center, the people who are supposed to give you the answers are normally not the people at the call center. But half the time, some of the questions we have are simple. Some such questions as, is my area covered by your services, finding out about the promotions currently running and so forth. These might not be things that would like to concern the bosses of that department over, which would be a problem if all these calls are going straight to the office. But when they go to the call center, we can get rid of the obvious questions and then only specialize on the big questions. But unfortunately, after time, we then find ourselves only depending on the call center itself and never then giving feedback to our clients. So that's what we mean here, that we should always ensure that relevant IT customer staff are informed of progress towards the resolution of support requests. Because at the time, this staff, the IT customer staff, has no idea over what you are doing as a system support specialist at the company. So you might have received a request to say systems are down in the KZN department. They need you to log in remotely and put the systems back up. It is then your duty to make sure that you communicate with all the people who are communicating with other people, so that every time someone calls, they at least know that maybe this will be done today. maybe we're at 50% done. Maybe this is something that will need a physical visit and so forth, so that people don't continuously become frustrated calling the same person who doesn't have the answers, always telling them that they'll call them back and give them the answers, and yet they will never do so. And then they're all frustrated because they can't provide the answers that the customers are asking for. And now they call you, and now you are frustrated too because they are disturbing you at every part of the journey. Now, the good thing is that in most of the cases, we actually have systems in place that make it possible for you to update each department as you are actually working on any particular problem. So the update can actually be a matter of ticks to say, I've been able to do this, and you tick it. I've been able to do this, and you tick it. This is yet to be done, and it's left unticked. Now, when the client calls, the IT staff can easily talk to them on the phone and say, the problem is being resolved. So far, what has been solved is A, B, and C. We only remain with this and this. And usually there's even approximate time to say this could be resolved in about an hour. This could be resolved in 30 minutes and so forth. So communication is very important, because once you as the systems support person does not tick what is they're supposed to tick, or does not communicate in whatever format to whoever you're supposed to communicate with, there will probably be more problems due to that lack of communication. So now you don't want to end up with more problems on your hand. One, systems are down. Two, you also are unable to communicate with your clients. That is a terrible thing to ever do. Then the fourth thing is that the communication should ensure that relevant IT customer staff are informed of any deviations from agreed timescales. Usually, when your clients complain about something, usually your clients expect a time frame when you solve that problem, because at the end of the day, they never wanted the problem to be there. So they want it solved yesterday. So when they call you, they're actually asking, when will you sort this out? Now, sometimes you might not have the answer, sometimes you might have the answer, but usually it is a very good idea to have an approximate time to say this will be sorted out within 48 hours. But let's say by the beginning of the second day, you can already see that 48 hours won't cut it. I'll probably need a day more or 3 days more. You should not wait for the client to then call you again on the third day to find out what's happening after the 48 hours have already elapsed, and now they want to know how come what you promised to be done is not yet done. It is a very good thing to already communicate with them that you will be now deviating or changing the agreed timescale, and you should also be able to brief them over the reasons why you're actually deviating from those timescales, because they actually need to know so that they can plan. If there is it's something to do with power, they need to know if they should maybe power up their generators, or find alternative way to cook and warm up their houses and stuff like that. But if they're not communicated with, it's then difficult for them, because they'll be banking on your word to say within 48 hours the problem would have been solved. And once it's not solved, that might actually create bigger problems in the long run, and you might actually end up with court cases on your hands. Then the last thing that we'll look at is the communication should ensure that relevant IT customer staff are informed promptly of any support requests which could not be resolved. So this is popular again. Sometimes there are setups whereby you can resolve things remotely. Sometimes there are setups where you can actually go to the site and have to resolve the problem. This could be network which is down. This could be systems which are not working. A lot of other problems could be part of the request for assistance. Now, not all problems can easily be solved. Usually you might know that every time there's a network which is down and there's a thunderstorm, it's usually because of certain power cuts, because of certain cables which break, or get flooded with water and so forth. But sometimes you might get to the site and realize, no, the problem this time is that people actually store those particular cables. So now there's nothing literally to solve except to replace the cables, and you do not carry them every time you go to that area. You should make sure you communicate quickly with all the staff who are at the offices answering calls from your clients, because at the end of the day, you knowing that the cables have been stolen and you sort out this problem in a month is one thing. The clients also need to know that there will be a delay due to exactly what the cause of the problem is, and how to even avoid it in the future, and how long you think you will take for you to solve this problem. Again, you never want to have your clients always calling you and trying to find out if you're making progress on the problem that they have since asked you about. That just spells out that you are unprofessional. And moment they discuss with other people, they'll simply tell those people that these guys, moment there's a problem, you talk to them, they ignore you, and so forth like that. And that's something you might not want as a reputation. It's a terrible reputation to ever have. So communication, communication, communication. Always make sure that every staff member is aware of exactly what is happening. Reports that need to be filed should be filed. Any calls that need to be made should be made. Don't ever leave people guessing. Don't ever leave people promising things that might not be possible to do. And half the time, with people who are in the support staff, people who are into system support, usually they would assume that by me knowing that the cables were stolen and me knowing that it would take 2 days to order the cables and another 2 days to install the cables, sometimes we might actually assume that the receptionist who's answering the calls also knows that. But that is far from the truth. Probably he or she didn't study what you studied. He or she doesn't even know what that means when cables are stolen. So you don't want them now answering the customers and now getting under pressure and ending up promising things that are impossible, such as we'll get your systems up in 2 days or your systems up in 3 days, yet you know that is impossible. So never leave your other staff members having to guess things that you already know facts about. It's always good to make sure that everyone is informed so that whenever they talk to the clients, there is no frustrations and promises of things that will never get done. I hope you learned a lot. Let's meet each other on the next lesson.